Good day, everybody. This is Dr. Antonio, Ayurvedic doctor in Philadelphia, and I wanted to share with you some simple considerations for health today. And one of them being what's called in Ayurveda Dinacharya. Dina refers to daily, and Charya refers to consistent, regular um, practices. And then the other topic is Matra, which is about portions. And therefore, starting with the first topic, which is Dinacharya, we're in a really difficult time period right now, and it's important to provide ourselves with a level of consistency, especially during these times. Not letting the effect of laziness get the best of us by getting stuck on the couch or being inside, not moving the body, not moving our mind in a forward direction. And so, one of the practices that Ayurveda recommends in general is to wake up around the same time every day, sleep around the same time every day, eat your meals around the same time every day. And ideally, waking up just around the sunrise is great because that starts to get the body moving, the fluids moving, as difficult as it might be, especially during certain times of year like the springtime. And so in this time of year, the qualities are kind of cold and heavy and moist. And so, of course, that's like a wet blanket kind of sitting on you or laying on you that prevents you from actually getting up out of bed. There's that coziness feeling in the bed that we feel nestled up and we don't want to get out of bed. But the thing is that that causes a lot of health consequences by staying in. The later we stay in bed, the heavier we feel, and then this will directly affect metabolic functioning, digestion, what we eat throughout the day, cravings or lack thereof. So, getting up around the same time, which is around sunrise, plus or minus, and actually having it in your thought as a mantra when the alarm goes off or when your eyes open up and you start to see the first hint of light coming up, just go. Get up out of bed. Fight that urge to stay in bed longer. And then start the day out as if you had a full time job if you're not working. And if you are working, then this isn't that far from what your norm is. And therefore, waking up and going to brush your teeth and kind of rinsing the mouth out and rinsing the face a little bit with some cool or tepid water just to kind of start things moving. Have a glass of warm water just to start stimulating digestion. It is a general good morning practice to enliven the body and get it ready for the day. We're going to have an increased level of inspiration and creativity by doing so. This is going to affect metabolism. It's going to affect whether weight is gained or lost, depending on what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it. Ayurveda is very specific and it tailors protocols per individual in their ideal setting to optimize health. And so waking up and starting the day, having exercise done in the morning is ideal, according to Ayurvedic practices, for many reasons, preferably before 10 a.m. And then continuing through the day where you're having, your meal times structured in a way that is going to be supportive of a level of consistency. The body is amazing, and the more we give to it, the more it will give back. And then once we get to a place where we're regulated and in a homeostatic place, then we don't have to do so much because certain things are going to be second nature and the body's going to just respond quicker. So when we already have a stable platform for the body to sort of thrive within this context, the body will thrive. And that's going to also affect the mind. Practices, having things to look forward to every day. Some people are not working right now, but still, we have a job to ourselves. We have a responsibility to ourselves. And we can go down into this downward spiral by thinking of, what we don't have, what we lost, where is the world, what's happening, tomorrow, in a few months, in a few weeks, and all these things. These are all circulating thoughts, and that's fine that they're circulating. But we have to come back to the present moment of what do I have today? What is available to me right now? What are the resources I have locally to me that I can access? Is there a local park that I can go to? Can I walk around the block? Can I go sit outside on my porch? Can I interact with people on Skype or FaceTime or any virtual means? You know, Setting up the day with something that we can do to feel like we're doing something. Even if that means watching TV is a treat to ourselves, that's, set up in the structure of the day. That's fine. We're having something to do. Um, and having a daily practice, a daily regimen is imperative because it has so many different possible positive effects on us, on our mind, on our body, on our spirits. And so try to set up a certain plan for yourself, saying, this is what I'm going to do in the morning. I'm going to wake up, do this, this, this. Then lunch is going to be around this time. Dinner is going to be around this time. And then in between those pockets of whatever might be happening, whether there is work or there is not work, have something going on. Try to engage online, research things that you could do at home. Um, Connect with nature. It's a really important piece, especially for the mind, to connect with nature. Find the tree, find some grass, find some soil, you know, observe some rocks, go out and see if there's sun. Even observe when it's like sunny and you're inside, or it's cloudy and you want to just go outside or look outside. Just kind of connect to some aspect of natural elements. This is very important on a deep physiological, cellular level of intelligence. The other component to consider doing this, especially when we're considering meal times, is, as I mentioned earlier, matra. Matra is about portions. There's a general understanding in Ayurveda that when you have optimal digestion, you pretty much can eat whatever you want, um, as long as it's not too much. So that's what we suffer as a society sometimes, is that we like too much, we engage too much. It's so easy to indulge in too much of this and too much of that, and extremism. We know as the pendulum is swinging that this level of extremism isn't ideal. It's like overeating, undereating. So when we find this sort of centered place within this pendulum, then the body can function more optimally in this range and actually enjoy life more fully. It doesn't really matter what you eat if your digestion is really strong, if organs are working properly, like the liver, the spleen, the pancreas, the stomach itself. You know, what we put in and what we put out is a very important topic to consider for ourselves. It's an important phenomenon because it's about input output. If I'm living a lethargic lifestyle, but I'm eating and eating and eating and eating, and that's my input, my output is only going to perpetuate this sense of excess. But if I'm physically active regularly, daily, then my intake has to match that, so that the supply and demand is regulated in a proper way, so that we can understand, okay, I overworked today, so I nourish myself with the right foods to keep that energy moving. And if I'm just sedentary, then I'm going to eat a little bit less, because why would I eat so much when my body is not really stimulated in that way? Like, there's this really delicate balance. And, in any one sitting, a way to gauge how much is too much is when we take our hands together, we can see that this is the designed portion that was given to us individually. So if you were on an autopsy table and you were a cadaver, and you were able to observe your own stomach being removed from your body, it would fit in the palms of your two hands. That's the size of your particular stomach. My two hands cupped together is the size of my stomach. Your cupped hands together is the size of your stomach. They're going to vary in size, even if we're both the same height, because it's proportionate. All the organs in our body are generally proportionate to what is needed within us. And so when we guide ourselves in eating and understanding, how much do I need to eat? Well, how active have I been today, or will I be today? And what's my level of mind, whether I'm really stressed or anxious or depressed, because that's also going to dictate the foods that I eat, the quantity of the foods when I'm eating them, quality of foods when I'm eating them, and using these as tools, as indicators, as cues to determine what will I be doing at any given point in time. This is an alchemy. This is a really deep, intimate relationship with the self. And knowing that is what you can learn through your life as your own driver's manual. Ayurveda offers this amazing capacity to learn what is the driver's manual for our body, for our physiology, for our minds, and where we're at. Um, anyway, coming back to the mantra, so knowing the portions and knowing that when I'm eating, if I can cup my hands over the food, which in some traditions you see people praying over food, that's a great ritual for sure because it acknowledges a lot of the elements literally within the food where it's come from. It's an acknowledgement, it's a praise, it's a prayer. Um, and also in some subtle way, we know like, okay, if my hand is on this high mound of food, that's a lot of food to consume, and that's going to be disproportionate to what's needed for my stomach. And that means that the nutrition is going to be void or lacking because how can I consume so much food in such a smaller place or space and expect my body to process all that with a refinement? Chewing more is ideal. When we're eating and talking, we're not really aware of chewing. We're just shoveling. We're just shoveling, shoveling, shoveling. And that's why in some traditions, like in India, you're eating with your hands because this is sort of like proportionate to like how much I can put in my mouth at any one given time versus like a shovel. And even in like China, using chopsticks, that's a way to regulate how much food is coming in my mouth, allowing me to, salivate, let the salivation break the food down, and then, you know, gauge how much is actually going in, you know, which will increase optimal digestion. And like we said last time, food will eventually lead its way towards immunity. And this is a cultivated practice. All the tissues and organs, the muscles, the bones, everything receives nutrients from what we put in. And if there is a default or some sort of fault in somewhere in the chain of digestion, then of course anything following that is going to suffer. And so it's a matter of slowing down, making time to understand what you're putting in. Is it really needed? Are you eating from an emotional place? Are you eating from a stress place? Um, Using all these factors will determine and create a possibility of more optimal digestion and optimal health. So these are some considerations when you're thinking about yourself every day. You know, you get to look forward to yourself every day, even on those low days, because being human means experiencing all the range of emotions because that's part of the human experience. Being spiritual means having the availability to a deeper level of consciousness that is aware simultaneously that you are in a human form, experiencing a human body. And in that means I will experience all the different emotions. That's just part of the play of this life. This is part of the journey. So you could be depressed some days, happy some days, anxious some days, resentful some days, sad some days, whatever the emotions are, joyful, you're having an experience as a human being. But it's that deeper place in consciousness that tells us how to manage those emotions every day. And if we remove the idea of judgment, if we remove the component of the mind that likes to tell a story and go right to guilt, then what would your experience be like in your daily experience as being human if those pieces weren't there or weren't as weighing on you as we allow them to be, right? um, so these are things to consider every day. And if we allow our minds to go into this downward spiral, then where is it going to keep taking us? It's like if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you're getting. So if you're feeling, some sense of emotion, then how can you hold the space for it? How can you be present with it? How can you um, just acknowledge it without getting, caught by it so much so that you're actually believing the fullest depths of that thought? Like if you took a step back, take some space, and taking space could be like going for a walk, talking to somebody about it. So it's not just ruminating in your own head, writing it down on paper, like in a sort of like free flow sense of consciousness, a direct stream of consciousness, and just kind of getting the energy to move. We'll call it energy, but I don't necessarily mean it in the woo-woo sense of definition of of energy. But there is an energy. There is a sense of you know force and physics and metaphysics all happening simultaneously, and these are all amazing sciences that we can observe from our own experiences. For instance, when we feel angry, there's something that kind of comes up. It's like this movement of energy, and it's like Where do we move it to? What do we do with it? It's not practical, at least from my experience, you know, to feel anger and say, I'm going to go sit and meditate and breathe in Om and breathe out Shanti. That's not really practical, maybe for more advanced beings and consciousness, but, then I would question them, where does that energy go if you're just regulating it through the mind because the body still has things to feel? It's just part of the world. There's no coincidence that the heart is in the body, not in the head, you know. And in Ayurvedic physiology, we understand that mind isn't so much up here as it is like a centeredness in the realm of the heart. So it's not coincidental that mind and intelligence actually comes from a deeper place, not just what we think is up here. It just happens that we're pulled around by the five senses and what we're looking, and we think it's up here, but it's not. you know so anyway, these are some things to consider. These are some thoughts to ponder upon for today. What can you do today that might be different than it was yesterday to give you a different outcome, especially if you're desiring something better for yourself? You know, have an awareness that you're simultaneously holding a space for things that are uncomfortable and things that you can still do, however small or big. There's something that can be done. So find that for yourself and find yourself partly through your practices and how you dedicate yourself to yourself every day, um, and honoring yourself. I will use that cliche that the body is the temple and this is where spirit lives. Sure, that's all fun. Have fun with it. And there's some actual truth to that, where how am I treating myself every day? And, in Ayurveda, we say, you know, that health requires consistency, because if you're not consistent, then how do you expect your body to be consistently healthy if you're not consistently healthy in practices with it? It's a direct relationship. You're in this body until you're not in this body anymore. You can either fight it or you can accept it. And as you go deeper into accepting it, it's going to take you to a much deeper place within yourself, and you'll feel actually lighter at some point eventually, right? So, anyways, I'm going to end on those notes. And as a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to message me or private message me. You can also contact me and find me on my website, which I'll also post in the comments here. The website is www.stillpointayurveda.com. I'm always open to working with new people. I love working with people. I love what I do. And I love seeing how people are thriving and have been thriving and will be thriving, because I know that doing all this in this context is amazing. I've seen it over and over and over again. And I'm highly passionate and I love all of it. I love Ayurveda. I love yoga. I love science. I love medicine. I love life. It's great. So until next time, have a great rest of your day. And, maybe shoot me a message and let me know if you found something in that part of your day that makes you seem like you have a connection to joy, however small. I love seeing that stuff, hearing about that stuff, and we can all inspire each other. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.